What a massive week it's been in Brisbane. Clearly, the announcement of the state government's delivery plan for the 2032 Brisbane Olympic and Paralympic Games was one of the biggest things to happen. I've put the main venue announcements into a dedicated video which is out already, and we'll have subsequent videos in the coming 2 or 3 weeks on plans for transport infrastructure and for tourism that were announced together with the venues. So I won't include any of that in this update, but you won't miss them if you're subscribed and have hit the bell for notifications. But there's plenty of other things for me to keep you across, with a little related and a lot unrelated to the Olympics. Firstly, with all the construction of venues and other infrastructure planned over the next 7 years in preparation for the big event, there will be massive pressure on the construction industry to get it all completed in time. Paul Bidwell, CEO of Master Builders Queensland, has said that he's confident the deadlines will be met, but that the real challenge will be completing all the other things that also need to be built at the same time. Things like hospitals, schools, and unrelated transport infrastructure. He added that there are not even enough construction workers in the state to handle the current demand, let alone the additional workload created by the Olympic projects. Bidwell quoted estimates he had seen indicating the need for an additional 30 to 40,000 workers each year until 2032 if everything is to be completed. John Davies, CEO of Australian Constructors Association, agrees that completion on time is possible, but what is needed to do that is the formulation of creative ways to improve efficiency of builds and to reduce costs. As mentioned in the dedicated video on Olympics venues on this channel earlier this week, a community group protesting the construction of the Olympic Stadium at Victoria Park are preparing for a legal challenge to the decision. Save Victoria Park have engaged with Brisbane barristers Stephen Keem SC and Chris McGrath and are attempting to raise $100,000 to cover legal fees on a GoFundMe page. At the time of making this video, they had already raised almost $50,000. That was from just 359 donations, so that indicates just how passionate some people are in their opposition of the stadium in the park. Reasons given to oppose the project include the cultural significance of the park, potential disruption to the nearby hospital, impact on wildlife, and reduction of Brisbane's largest public green space. They also claim that the construction is in violation of the Olympic Committee's host location requirements. No doubt we'll be hearing more on how the challenge proceeds in coming updates. But this is not the first time Brisbane Olympics infrastructure has seen organised community opposition. Back in 2022, when redevelopment of the Gabba was proposed, the heritage-listed East Brisbane State School was threatened, resulting in strong community backlash from many locals. Well, this week, the state government has promised that the school will be preserved and will be able to continue to run as normal into the foreseeable future, continuing its 126-year legacy. But one legacy of hosting the Olympics that many Brisbane residents are concerned about, at least those that aren't property investors, is the potential for a surge in house prices and rents. Domain claims that property experts are predicting that Brisbane will overtake Sydney as the city with the highest property values by 2032. Real Estate Institute of Queensland's Chief Executive Antonia Mercerella has been quoted as saying that the infrastructure improvements will make Brisbane a more livable city, which plays a significant role in the potential price increases. Place real estate agent CEO Damien Hackett suggests that these suburbs, which are close to proposed Olympics infrastructure, are likely to see house and unit values increase significantly. Promises of increased livability sound great for real estate agents, but we do need to keep in mind the expected population growth in the coming years and the potential impact that may have on the city's livability. Brisbane's livability now and into the future is a massive and complex topic, so I'll save exploring that for another time on the channel. If homes are going to get more expensive, at least you can save money when you paint them, thanks to the sponsor of this video, YB Painting Services, one of Brisbane's most professional providers of painting services. Their meticulous attention to detail is impressive, and with fixed pricing and a 5-year warranty on all their work, you can be sure there'll be no unpleasant surprises. If you're thinking of getting some painting work done, you'll get an exclusive 10% discount as a viewer of the Brisbane channel. Just scan this QR code or click the link in the video description. Olympics or not, we need more social and affordable housing. This week, the state government announced that ground had been broken on the construction of 89 social and 32 affordable homes at Redbank Plains in Ipswich. The project is for homes designed for older Queenslanders looking to downsize, freeing up larger homes for families. This project, along with another 29 new social homes in Waterford West in Logan, already underway, are part of a plan to deliver 53,500 additional social and community homes by 2044 across Queensland. For context, in December, there were just under 50,000 people on the waitlist for social housing across the state, and a report by QCOS mid-last year found that people were waiting almost 2.5 years for social housing in Queensland. This is probably a good time to bring up new figures released by the Australian Bureau of Statistics a few days ago, revealing how Brisbane and other Australian cities' population changed in the 2023-24 financial year. Brisbane's population on the 30th of June 2024 was estimated to be just over 2.75 million, an increase of almost 73,000 on the same time the previous year. But the interesting part is what makes up that increase. Natural increase, that is, the difference between the number of people born and the number of people who died, was just over 13,000. Migration from overseas was over 44,000, and migration from other areas within Australia was around 15,500. But what's significant is that Brisbane was one of only 2 cities in Australia that had positive internal migration, with Perth seeing about half the number of people moving from other domestic areas as Brisbane. All other cities had more people leaving domestically than arriving. Redbank Plains in Ipswich either had far fewer people dying or more babies being made, as it was the highest for natural population increase in all of Greater Brisbane. Also in Ipswich, Ripley had the most people moving in from other parts of Australia, and Brisbane City had the most people move from overseas. Areas with the highest growth rates overall in Greater Brisbane were in Logan and Ipswich. Have you ever noticed signs in the local Macca's or shopping centre threatening fines for exceeding parking time limits? Following reports of malpractice by private parking operators in early 2023, they were temporarily banned from accessing driver details from the Department of Transport and Main Roads here in Queensland. That temporary ban remained in place, but this week the state government has indicated that they will pass legislation to make that ban permanent. The Department of Transport and Main Roads points out on their website that demands for payment from private operators are not fines, as only governments or courts can issue fines. If an operator wants to enforce a payment notice, they must take action through the courts. Clearly this will be more difficult now, as they will not be able to legally supply your license plate number to the department to request your details. Something that may be more important to people in areas at risk of flooding, and with weather forecasts predicting a solid week or so of rain, and you can see it's raining now, sandbags are once again being made available to residents in most Greater Brisbane LGAs. The ground has remained quite sodden after ex-tropical cyclone Alfred, so continued rain has the potential to see flooding return. I'm filming this on Saturday for release on Sunday, so this may or may not already be obsolete information, but at the time of filming, if you're in Brisbane City, here's where you can collect or fill up sandbags. In Redland City, you can head to these depots. In Logan, if they're still available, here's where to go. For Moreton Bay, check the disaster dashboard for sandbag depot locations. Sorry, Ipswich, I couldn't find anything for your LGA. Anyway, let's get to the LGA specific updates, starting with Brisbane. Last time we said goodbye to Star in our weekly updates, but it seems there is no end to the Queen's Wharf saga. Star's 50% stake in the Queen's Wharf development, including the casino, is to be acquired by the other members of the consortium, Chow Tai Fook and Far East Consortium. But the Queensland Government must approve the casino's licensing arrangements, and this week saw a report tabled in Parliament that concludes that Chow Tai Fook had concealed their relationship with Alvin Chow, a person of not good repute. Chow was sentenced to 18 years in jail in 2021 for illegal gaming and organised crime, and he was entangled with a number of prominent triad figures. The review found that Chow Tai Fook had not disclosed their relationship with Chow and had misled the regulator. So now the government has a document that would give good cause for not approving Chow Tai-fook's takeover of the casino. But what would that mean for Queen's Wharf? It's all a bit of a mess, and meanwhile thousands of employees must still be waiting with bated breath to see what will happen. But let's move to something more positive. And this week Brisbane City Council launched the newest double-decker CityCat in their fleet, Banerabar 2. That's nice, but I've got a question for you. Want to buy a CityCat? With the announcement of the new member of the fleet came word that the two oldest first-generation CityCats, Mirabapa and Tugalawa, will now be retired, have their branding and fit-outs removed, and will be made available for sale. Brisbane City Council have said that depending on the interest, more surplus first-generation vessels may be put up for sale in the future. You could collect the whole set. A couple of quick updates for Brisbane City before we move to other LGAs. Firstly, if you feel like someone switched your wheelie bin on April the 1st, it's not an April Fool's joke. Brisbane City Council are replacing some 77,000 Sulo bin lids so that all the general waste bins in the city have red lids, with yellow for recycling and light green for green waste. The red lids were introduced in 2011, so bins issued between the introduction of wheelie bins in 1984 and 2011 have dark green or grey lids. These are the ones that will be replaced. This is all funded by the Queensland Government, and the old bin lids will be melted down to produce new bins. If you're in Annerley or Wynnum, you may have noticed that your local library still hasn't reopened since ex-tropical cyclone Alfred. This is due to mould and moisture discovered within the libraries. If you have books due for return but not overdue, they won't be due until April 5th, but you can also return them to other libraries. There's no word from the council as to when the two libraries will reopen. The final update for Brisbane City is that the latest round of the Lord Mayor's Better Suburbs grants are now open to applications. The Community Support Grant category provides community groups and not-for-profits up to $10,000 for necessary maintenance, equipment, training, or programs that will help the organisations grow. Some recipients from 2024 included Rosie's Youth Mission in Murarrie, who developed a marketing plan to attract new volunteers and donors for their cause, Jigsaw Group in Mount Gravatt, who put the funding towards the purchase of office equipment for people with accessibility issues, and Four Voices Global Limited in Morningside, who have used the grant funds to provide mental health first aid training for their 96 volunteers. Now to Moreton Bay, where the City Council has called on the federal government to cough up funding for disaster resilience in the LGA. Mayor Peter Flannery says that a modern facility for community safety and disaster management is essential for the northern area of southeast Queensland to mirror the extensive commitment made to the new dedicated Disaster and Emergency Management Centre on the Gold Coast. He says that he's aware that the federal government has set aside $13.5 billion in forward estimates for disaster, resilience and recovery nationwide, and that the City of Moreton Bay is merely asking for a commitment of $30 million from that pool. Moreton Bay City Council this week locked in their contract with the developers for the construction of a new 4-lane bridge and road at Joyner. Mayor Flannery said the upgrade at Young's Crossing will provide flood immunity during heavy rain and subsequent releases from North Pine Dam, preventing the closure of Young's Crossing Road and reducing impacts on the wider transport network. I don't know, maybe that's a little bit loud. We'll see how we go. Only a little bit left to go. A 3-part documentary series shot in Brisbane is now taking Brisbane to the world on Netflix. The Swap follows students from Brisbane Islamic College in Karawatha, students from 2 Brisbane Catholic schools and 1 secular state school, along with their families, as they swap places to bridge cross-cultural divides. Well, that's what the blurb says, but the show has had some brutal criticism, saying it may in fact do the opposite. I'm yet to watch it, but if anything, it may give a bit of a glimpse at least into the lives of people from diverse backgrounds in Brisbane, and differences between what life is like in secular and religious schools. So it could be an interesting watch. Or you could just watch Bluey. Coming up on the channel next week, we'll have a video looking at which recommendations from the 100-day games review the state government rejected, the reasons they gave, and what we can learn from that. Coming soon, videos on a range of topics from plans for transport and tourism as part of the games delivery plan, I look at quality of life in Brisbane and how it may compare to other parts of Australia, and a heap more. I'll see you in the next video. All right. That could be a disaster.